Welcome to Exchange on negotiations. Sometimes negotiations can grow into a conflict. When parties are not able to continue dialogue, they often call a third party, a mediator, to help them reach an agreement. How do mediators make the most difficult negotiations work? Meet our guest, Luis Ore. As it never rained in Lima, Peru, it was fun to ride bicycles with friends, but Luis did not become a cyclist or a firefighter. Well, somehow he does put off fires in his studies and work in conflict management on an international scale. For Luis, negotiations are similar to cooking. You mix the ingredients, season with tolerance, keep it warm, and serve with respect. When he's not facilitating successful business outcomes, Luis enjoys reading and having a good time with family, friends, and colleagues. He likes to say, the fact that you're right doesn't mean that I am wrong. Let's see how he does it in practice. Welcome, Luis. I know that many people are reluctant to negotiate because they're afraid that it could negatively affect their relations with the other party. What's your view on that?
So it's like negotiation is not me against you, is we have a problem or a situation that we need to face together.
Okay, but let me be a bit provocative. When we talk about business, is this me and you concept really applicable? Because it does sound a bit personal. And when we negotiate in business, isn't it more about numbers and results?
I think that's what people think, but business, there is relationships because every individual has like emotional interest, than feeling appreciated, feeling respected. People want to feel some autonomy that nobody imposes things to me. People want to feel the sense of affiliation or belonging to something. So yeah, there are a lot of emotions behind all those big talks, and it's important to address them.
Okay, so let's jump straight ahead to the examples of how those needs could be addressed in business negotiations.
In 2018, I was invited by some leaders of indigenous community in the jungle of Ecuador to go there and listen to and learn about their grievances and the problem that they had with a mining company. And this mining company had purchased a piece of land from these individuals, but the individuals were saying they trick us. It was a fishy purchase for cultural reasons, for identity issues, because this indigenous community, their culture is like if land is not like a thing, it's just something that is part of ourselves. So it's like I cut my arm and I gave you my arm. That's not acceptable. Okay, and people were crying, screaming, a lot of emotions, and people expressing their grievances. So after going to that local community 2 times to understand the problem, then I had to go to Canada to talk with the owners, well, not the owners, the board of directors, the heads of that company, to explain the situation and the drama with this piece of land. The board was not aware that they were not aware about the grievances. They were not aware that they had a problem with the community. So they thought everything is fine. So that's a problem with middle management. I think that they don't share accurate information with top management. So that's a problem in this type of work, because you have people looking at short gains. I'm doing good in my work, then I sign an agreement and I go to maybe another company to make more money. But what I left is like a time bomb. It later on will explode. To go to that area, you need to go to the capital of Ecuador, then drive like 8 hours, and then take a little airplane to fly 40 minutes in the middle of the jungle, and then you arrive to the middle of nowhere. And you have this community, there's no other access to it, and you could not do any type of work if you don't have the community welcoming you. So the process that I designed, or the work I was doing, it was to address everybody's interests, community and company. So at the end of a long process, the company decided to give that piece of land back to the community with no conditioning. They didn't give back the community saying, oh, I will give you the land, but you let me work. It was just, okay, let me give you the land back as a leap of faith. We will heal our relation, and then we can start a negotiation process.
I know that these negotiations ended up in a very successful outcome. So what was the secret for you? Why did it work?
I think that the company was, or the board was brave enough to address their real interest, which was to work with the community. But they were brave enough to give up this piece of land, which was valuable. And that's not very common, because it was a leap of faith, as I said, but a faith in human kind, in the kindness of human beings. It's like, I trust that if we have a good relationship, we may be able to work together later on. I was calling by a textile company, a company that makes clothing, and they have a huge factory, and they have workers, and they have a union, and the management of human resources was having problems with the union. One of the main complaints or requests from the union was that they wanted that the company rehire some employees that they had, like 10 or 11 or 12 employees, I think, that the company had fired. We reached an agreement. We got 11 former employees back working. One did not, because there was some criminal activity around that. But then we started talking about other topics, other issues about performance, and we were getting into more technical issues. So when I do my work, I ask a lot of questions, and I help people reflect. And I think I ran into a situation in which I was trying to help the one guy from the union, but I was very assertive, and with this reflective process, I guess. And he said something like, well, I feel that you are not being neutral anymore.
That must be tough to hear. So why do you think that happened?
Maybe I did feel that I had a good connection with them, and like a good relationship, as we said before. And maybe I thought that if there was any problem, they would tell me the problem. But I think I didn't realize there was a situation, a feeling there that I was not addressing. They kind of wanted some solution quickly, and my effort to exploring and reflecting, maybe they thought was, oh, you're trying to confuse us. You are trying to benefit the company. You are going around too many things.
So if you were to go back, what would you done differently?
In the mediation process, you have joint sessions, and then you do caucus, which is a separate. You separate the parties, and you talk with one party, and then you talk with the other party. I think I had to do that early on the process, meaning if I was too assertive on, oh, let's reflect and all this stuff, I may come across in a better way if I was doing it with the union by themselves instead of the open space with both parties. I don't know if my actions could make the other one feel that, oh, I'm losing face here. I think I would have a deeper conversation in a more confidential setting with the union, and maybe pull this guy, just this one only guy, away and say, hey, let's have a open conversation more deeply. In Spanish, you have an expression that is like, let's talk without underwear, like naked, to tell us the truth, right? So that's what I should have done with this guy early on. My lesson learned in this labor union management mediation was that we need to pay more attention or be more mindful of the other side emotions. It's like you need to open your third eye to see the whole thing. Makes sense? Everybody wants to have some recognition, and everybody wants to feel that they are good at something. So if you can give a little piece of that, or contribute to that feeling, I think it helps the whole interaction.
Do you have an example of that?
I was going to facilitate a dialogue between another mining company and a local community. Well, 11 communities. And these 11 communities had one representative, was kind of the leader of the conversations. I learned about the process, the negotiation process that he was part of in the past. So I knew he had a good sense of what's a dialogue, and it's not just fighting and forcing others, but it's having open dialogue, talk about interests, being creative. From our conversation, he came across as a person that he really cares about development for these communities. So in one conversation that we had one-on-one, I told him, I'm very pleased, I'm kind of happy that I have the opportunity to work with you, because you have had these good prior experiences, you have the right mindset to approach these negotiations that are coming, and I truly believe that you have the needs and the concerns of the communities in your mind. So I was trying to tell him that he has the capacity to engage in constructive dialogue that could benefit the community, and that he also cares about the community.
Interesting. And why do you think that really helped the negotiations to succeed?
When people feel recognized or value or appreciated, you're more open to have a productive conversation. is, I feel, if you value me, if you appreciate me, I don't think you are going to take advantage of me, or that you are going to, I don't think you are going to take advantage of me. So it creates a better environment to discuss about important things.
Thank you so much for sharing, Luis. So, if we are to remember one thing before we enter any negotiation, what would we say it should be?
Think thoroughly about what you really care about, what's your interest, what you really want to satisfy, and also think about what the other party may want, really care about, and then come to the table with some potential proposals that address all those interests. When you meet the other party, you need to be genuine in saying, this is my interest, this is what I would like to achieve. What do you want to get out of this? And I'm asking you because if I understand what you really want, maybe I can help you get that. Don't share the intensity of how much you really want something, but you really need to share what you want. And also always think about your alternative or your plan B. If you don't reach an agreement with the other party that you are going to be negotiating with, what are you going to do by yourself to satisfy your own interest? You need to compare something away from that negotiation table, because you may end up with an agreement that is worse than your plan B. So you need to have clear sense of what you can do by yourself or with somebody else if you don't reach an agreement with that person.
Know what you want, walk in with the intention to reach a win-win agreement, but be prepared to walk away from negotiations if you have a better alternative. I'll remember that. Thanks for sharing, Luis.